And a great Sunday afternoon to you. This weather video is driven by 802cars.com, representing 802 Toyota, Twin Cities Subaru, and 802 Honda. They're all located off of Exit 7 on Interstate 89. Let's take a look at temperatures, and that really kind of tells a story here. Look how cold it is up in the Arctic area. We're seeing some temperatures in northern Canada around the minus 40s, and some of this is going to scoot on by here. It's relatively warm off to the south. The baroclinicity is kind of in this particular area. And a trough of lower pressure in the little bit lower latitude is going to scoop up a lot of moisture, and this is going to be our next weather system. It's going to be tracking into the region for New Year's Eve, and then changing out to a little bit of rain, some glazing on the way, a little bit of snow, a little healthier amounts of snow in some of our northern Green Mountains and points east. And then it goes back to rain, and then that transition back to a little bit of snow flurry and mountain snow shower activity. What else is new? And of course, each time it does this, you're looking at a little bit of wind coming in, generally along the western slopes of the Green Mountains with a southeasterly wind blowing in, and then those winds shifting to westerly as the area of low pressure will track mostly over and just a little north of Vermont. Here's a quick look at the extended HRRR. And you can see that flurries begin to make it into Vermont and then kind of die out as they do. A lot of flurry activity upstream immediately to the west. It looks like a lot of these weaken and never really get here. Now this is the main storm here. Now watch the front end. You'll see it change over to some rain to snow. Again, this is the HRRR. This far out, typically it's not all that important. So looking at the full continent now, and you can see what's going on in terms of today with little areas of higher pressure, kind of weak bubbles, if you will, 1028 HPA exiting off the coast. It should afford us some pretty nice weather right into all of Monday. And then here comes our New Year's Eve storm. It's a southern latitude, lower latitude. It'll spread in, it looks like mixed precipitation, really starting out as snow and then changing over to some freezing rain and rain. And then it goes back to snow showers and flurries on the tail end of that system as it departs. We'll also have some gradient wind issues, as I mentioned. Relatively marginal, however, 35, 45 mile an hour gusts, both on the front side of the storm as well as the back side of the storm. Typically, this is usually separated by a day. In this particular case, it's going to be happening rather quickly. So that area of higher pressure then builds in behind it for some fairly decent weather for the middle part of the week, especially on Wednesday. And a little better area of higher pressure organizes and crosses through southeastern Canada and northern New England. Then that moves on through. We get kind of a little bit of a weak system in the northern branch here that kind of comes in north of the Great Lakes, and that could deliver a couple flurries. That's why Thursday is not on the good project weather list at this point. But it does look like, for the most part, it stays dry in most of Vermont, but we could have a few isolated flurries. And then this is very interesting. Okay, we have two branches of the jet stream. This makes this thing very complex. Right now, very low confidence exactly as to how to play this out, but jet stream energy coming in from across Canada, also in the kind of a split flow in the northern latitudes there. So you can see that this is going to make for a storm system. It's going to make for a storm system that has some potential here to produce some plowable snowfall, mostly in northern Vermont, central Vermont possibly. Southern Vermont may see a little bit of a mixed precipitation type. Again, all speculation. This is pretty far along and down the road a piece. But you can see this is a better kind of what we call a Miller B type nor'easter as it gets into Maine and really becomes fairly intense as it pulls away. Now beyond that, looks like we have a little secondary trough of lower pressure. It's going to give us some lake effect flurries and mountain snow showers. That could be good for 1 to 3 or maybe 2 to 4 inches as well. Getting into day 8, you can see another area of higher pressure builds in for kind of a long range look here. But we'll see what happens because the large scale weather pattern will be undergoing some changes at this point in time. And looking at precipitation type, we're going to move through Monday afternoon, and then here comes our mixed precipitation as it runs into colder air over northern New England, mainly Vermont, New Hampshire, northern parts of upstate New York. It looks like rain makes it all the way to the Canadian border at that point after giving us a little bit of snow. But notice the backside of the system pushes away quickly, but a little heavier amount of snow shower and flurry actually on the backside. And then good weather day on Wednesday, as I just showed, and we're looking at that area of higher pressure beginning to fall apart as a little weak disturbance in the northern branch of the jet stream works in on Thursday. It could affect us, maybe not. And then the next weather system on Friday is the one to watch. Now this looks a little healthier here when you see a little heavier precipitation, cold enough to snow. By all indications, this could be a little bit better snowfall, bigger snowfall, something we really haven't seen. It could produce maybe somewhere between 5 and 12 inches of snowfall. And then that system as a nor'easter pulls off, and we have a leftover trough and additional snowfall potentially on the backside of that system. Here's the GFS ensemble. This is focused again on Montpelier, Vermont, and we're looking at total QPF at this point. Half inch, 1 inch amount, so GFS ensemble is pretty strong on kind of about, looks like about 6/7 tenths, 7,500 of an inch of total melted precipitation with this next incoming storm system. Not a whole lot following it as it's shown here. Looking at the 3-hourly QPF, you can see that it's a fairly tight, narrow shot here, and then we dry out just a little bit of stuff in the backside, and then we dry out, and this would be the next one to watch. Of course, that would be Friday of the end of this coming week. Weather Prediction Center, total 7-day QPF, the accumulated precipitation. The blue here is about 1 inch amounts. This is a little under, and it looks like in the vicinity of around an inch with these two storms up ahead, according to the Weather Prediction Center. Now looking at wind, this kind of shows a strong low-level jet. This would be our next weather system for New Year's Eve right here, and you can see that this particular low-level jet is greater than 50 knots and up to around 60 knots, kind of par for the course, kind of marginal gradient wind issues that we'll have to watch, and there'll be future heads up on. And you also want to note that the next one, some of the outlier here for the GFS ensemble is showing up with even stronger gusts up around 70, 80 is something we'll have to watch. It may be too cold for that, so we'll see how that works out. These are high temperatures only. This is the meteorological output statistical mean, showing the weighted temperatures for the next 5 days. Note above normal here, well above normal in the plains, probably a Chinook occurring of the Canadian prairies, and then you can see near normal or neutral conditions with temperatures leaning just a little bit on the warm side. But about 3 days later, it looks like this. Again, near neutral here, a little warmer to the south. Still much of the this part of North America, from the prairies all the way into the east coast, basically, is above normal. Coldest is going to be the desert southwest, oddly, and they've been seeing some pretty cold temperatures already. Climate reanalyzer from this morning, you can see some colder air in Canada. I was showing that early with the -40s currently taking place, but not a lot to learn from here at this point. Currently we have a sudden stratospheric warming event taking place. This is in this gray line here, this is our normals or average temperatures. This is at 10 HPA or 10 millibars, we're talking in the stratosphere. And you can see that the temperatures have been following suit, and then you're seeing a little bit of perturbation here, and then all of a sudden, boom, sudden stratospheric warming. And you can see this is well above normal, and this is a good indicator as to what might be taking place and how it'll affect our weather. Now, 30 HPA or 30 hectopascals, temperatures have started to warm. They've kind of crashed again, and then they're making another attempt. So basically, the layer aloft, higher up at 10 HPA, has having a little trouble getting further down, and that could be a problem. We'll see how that works out. And once again, at 10 HPA, this would be the North Pole, and the stratospheric polar vortex is being disrupted by that sudden stratospheric warming event, and you can see it here. This may have ramifications in a couple of weeks as it weakens the polar vortex at the stratosphere, at the troposphere, where our weather is located. That in turn would then cause better conditions in terms of snowier conditions, and colder air fleeing the North Pole, getting down into the mid-latitudes, and setting up high-latitude blocking, which would be more favorable for snowier weather, depending on where those blocks set up. That's it from here. Roger Hill, Wuthering Heights. Thanks for watching.